Hey, Dr. C here. Hope you're having a good day. Well, today we're going to talk about senior screws and the screwing of senior citizens. Now, I really take a liking to this because I can go on for multiple programs with all the things that screw the senior citizens. But you may not necessarily be aware of it. It isn't just scams. It is your own federal government, your state government, your local government. They are all out to screw you. That's correct. So, to begin with, let's talk a little bit about demographics. We got to talk about what we mean by this, right? There are roughly 52 million seniors out there in the United States. Over that, but roughly 52 million. And it's roughly about 16% of the population. Okay. We are going to go up over the next 10 years. We're going to double that number because all the boomers are coming in now. I still am one of the few who still belong to the silent generation. I'm not going to stay silent, but, I belong to that silent generation. So 52 million. I'm sorry, 52 million. And we outnumber many of the other populations in the United States, and we certainly will outnumber a lot of them by the time 2030 comes. Roughly about 59% are female, 20 and 41% male. We know that the men die a little younger than the women. So life expectancy, even though it's going down, there's still that little discrepancy between men and women. Roughly about 16% of the seniors are still working. They have to. Roughly 3.4 million are still working. So, at any rate, why is that important? Well, you'll notice as we go on with the financial screwing why that may be so accurate. Roughly about 57% of the seniors are married, 57. 28% are widowed, 10% are divorced. Again, what is the meaning of that? Well, I'm not 100% sure, but roughly very few are in nursing homes. We hear a lot about nursing homes, and there's 15,600 nursing homes in the United States. 70% of them are for profit. We'll talk about the for-profits because that's one of the biggest screws that are out there. And roughly of those nursing homes now, if you're not in a nursing home, you still have all of the chronic illnesses. What are the chronic illnesses? Half the people have significant symptomatic arthritis. 60% have hypertension, high blood pressure. 35% have heart disease, significant. 35% have a hearing loss requiring the hearing aids. Roughly 25% have a vision problem. 20% have diabetes. 13% have Alzheimer's. So there's a lot of significant chronic illnesses out there in the seniors. So, as I said, very few of the people, however, are in nursing homes. So, why is that? Well, first of all, it's expensive. Number two, limited number of beds. Some of them may only need assisted living, but only a roughly 3% of the seniors are in assisted living, roughly a little over 1 million people. Most of the seniors, 90%, significant number, want to age in place, age at home. They don't want to die in a nursing home. They don't want to die in a hospital. They prefer to be at home. Okay, so how do we get screwed? First of all, let's talk about federally. How can we get screwed federally? Well, first of all, we're all living on our Social Security, right? So, in Massachusetts, you say, oh, that's great. Social Security is not taxed. That's true. It's not. One of a few states where it's not taxed. However, if you earn a certain amount, federally you can be taxed. Roughly, if you earn less than $44,000 a year, or between $25,000 to $44,000 a year, you're in that 50% of it is taxed. If you earn over $44,000 a year, 85% is taxed. Unfortunately, I'm in the 85% bracket. So that's one of the little screws, one of them. You know, it was nice when I had a business, so I could take a lot of business deductions on my house, my car, all these other great little perks having a business. Since I no longer have a business, I'm retired, I lose all those perks for income tax purposes. Not a good thing, but that's the way it is. Did you see that President Biden, good old Joe, is adding 87,000 people in the IRS? Now, not all of them are going to be agents. You know, you have many, many different things going on in the IRS. So roughly 1 in 8 are agents. So that's still going to add 10 to 12,000 agents. And what is their purpose? To audit, to look at your returns and should you audit them or not. So now, yes, only 1% will get audited. If you happen to be part of that 1%, it is a real pain in the butt. Let me tell you, if you get audited, don't go to the person who's doing your taxes. Take care of it yourself. It's much cheaper, much cheaper. All the people do, when you give them all of their material and all, they throw it into a computer, give you a readout, charge you $1,000. That's wonderful. But if you get audited, they're going to rearrange the numbers and all that nonsense, charge you double, and you're still going to pay the same amount on the audit or the penalties or whatever. Don't do it yourself. Much less expensive. So that's another thing. We get overcharged a lot. We get overcharged also in the state. Okay, what's going on with the state? The worst thing about the state of Massachusetts, which is not, Massachusetts is not elder friendly, no matter what they may tell you. They are not elder friendly. In fact, one of the Institutes of Gerontology came out with a study showing that a lot of the seniors, especially those who live alone, over 40% of them are having a great deal of difficulty now trying to at least be able to buy food, clothing, keep a roof over their head. Now that doesn't say much for Massachusetts, let me tell you. So what else about Massachusetts? The worst thing is the damn death tax, the estate tax. Now, you say, well, why should I worry about the estate tax? I'm going to be 6 feet under looking at the grassroots. Well, that's true. That's true. But your heirs, all that money, everything that you've accumulated during your life, is supposed to go to your heirs, but they're going to be paying an estate tax in Massachusetts if your estate is over $1 million. Now that sounds like a lot of money, and it is. But look at what's going on with inflation. The price of houses now. If you happen to own a home, you're not paying a mortgage anymore. But you're still paying property taxes and you're paying everything for the upkeep of the house. That one house has gone up immensely, up to 20% higher than it was a year ago. Many people who had homes in the $400,000 to $500,000 range are now having those same homes assessed at $700,000 or $800,000. That takes you darn close to that $1 million all of a sudden. What else is included in your estate? The state is very smart. They continue, even though they broke away from the federal estate tax, which incidentally is up to $12 million right now. They broke away from that. They kept it at $1 million, the worst in the nation, the worst in all 50 states. And they kept the original definition of an estate. It's a federal definition. Well, what the heck? What does it include? Oh boy, what it includes is just about anything you can think of that you have your name on. I don't care if it's life insurance. I don't care if it's stocks, bonds. I don't care if it's bank accounts, homes. All of that is in your adjusted gross income, which is your estate, basically. So that estate tax, if you go over $1 million, even $1 over $1 million, you're taxed on that $1 million and $1. Very, very generous of the state. Also, you would think if you had a lower amount, and that lower amount, because of the marital deduction, goes to your wife. Okay. Can your wife then take the remainder of that and instead of just $1 million when she passes away, call it $1 million plus what was left over from yours? No. She's taxed on $1 million herself as well. So those are little nuances that really do aggravate the heck out of me, obviously, but that is part of the screw you get from the state. Now, what do you have to, and this has been in place since 2000, and it hasn't changed. 23 years. Many other things have changed. Certainly inflation has changed tremendously, but our wonderful, brilliant legislators have not taken the time to do anything to that death tax, that estate tax. But what have they done? Oh, they're very seriously considering death with dignity. Now, death with dignity, that sounds so, breaks your heart. But it used to be known back originally when it first came out, assisted suicide. Oh, but suicide has a bad reputation. Not good. Never got through even the committees of the legislature. So gradually over the years, it gets introduced every year. And every year there seems to be more and more legislators supporting this idea of death with dignity. It came very close last year to getting through committee and passing because there's a significant number of legislators in our Commonwealth who would vote for it. They may not vote for their own, but they vote for it. Now, as far as I'm concerned, it's still assisted suicide. And I'm not writing any prescriptions out for somebody to kill themselves. What you can do, though, is do it legally. go on to hospice care. What does hospice do? And I can tell you what hospice does because I've seen it. We've had hospice in our home. We've had hospice in a nursing home. We've had hospice care. And I can tell you the thing they use the most is good old morphine. They love morphine. All you have to do is a little bit of a moan or something and bang, we'll give you another dose of that good old juice, morphine. Oh man, they love it. Killed my mother, it did. Not that she wouldn't have gone eventually herself, but it was that morphine that did her in. Get hospice care. They'll take care of you. So that is another wonderful state benefit that you get. What else do you get? Well, you can get the circuit breaker. Oh, God, the circuit breaker. They tell you about it. You can save $1,200 on your property tax next year if you're part of that circuit breaker. Well, but they don't tell you all of the requirements for the circuit breaker. Number one, you have to be a Massachusetts resident. Number two, over age 65. Number three, your property has to be your primary home in the state. Number four, there's an income limit. Right now, for a married couple, it's $96,000. They have done something with that. And $64,000 if you're single. They also have requirements. What are the requirements? What you paid on last property tax to your town, plus they'll add half of what you paid for water and sewer. If all of that, the property tax, half of water and sewer, is over 10% of your Massachusetts adjusted gross income for the year, you would qualify. And if you're a renter, if 25% of your rent is over 10% of that Massachusetts adjusted gross income, you would qualify. Okay? Remember, the maximum you can get from it, though, is $1,200. Now, what else? They also added in more recently the maximum amount of the value, your assessed value of your home has to be under $912,000. Sounds like a lot, but remember I told you, your property value has gone up. 20% in the last couple of years. Remember that. Okay, so that is the circuit breaker. So you have to plan to put in your Schedule CB, circuit breaker. Okay, what else does our wonderful state do for us? Incidentally, we all pay a lot of sales tax on our gasoline. Now, you would think that when the crunch really hit with inflation this year, last year, I mean, in 2022, it hit in 2021 too, but 2022 was really bad. 9 to 10%. In fact, the federal government gave us a COLA, a cost of living allowance, 6.7%. That was a good thing. That was a good thing. But it was roughly most of the year 9 to 10% inflation. And it's still up. It's still up a good 7.5%. I don't care what old Benevolent Joe tells you. Oh, everything's coming down now, coming down. Baloney. Why didn't they do anything about that additional federal and state tax on the gasoline when it was sky high? They could have, but they didn't. They didn't. Purposely. Okay, so again, the screw tightens on the senior who has a limited amount of money coming in. Anything else in the state? Yes, there certainly is. Like I told you at the beginning, when they did that study looking at the seniors. The elders in this state were in the low 4. They were the fourth from the bottom in economic security. Wonderful. Absolutely. They should be proud of themselves. Okay. So what else? Well, we got our town. We talked about federal. We talked about stuff. Talk about the town. Did you get your property tax? Well, of course you got your property tax this year. My property tax went up 30% from last year to this year. 30%. But the town said, oh, you voted in all these overrides and all. Well, you can't do anything about it. Baloney. Baloney. They lie like hell to get the money and then put their hands up. We can't do anything about it. Regulations, etc. So we all went up, at least at 30%. So that was our wonderful town. Also our wonderful town, back when I was at the senior center, we had a number of meetings to try to make Shrewsbury a dementia-friendly community. It all went away. We are not, at the present time, a dementia-friendly community, even though Westboro and other communities are. So why not? Because without that stimulation, they don't care to do it themselves. That's why. So, at any rate, oh man, what else in general do we have to put up with? I'm not going to go through all the scams. I could spend in fact, I will. I'm going to have an entire show on all of the latest scams that are out there against the seniors. Why the seniors? Because we are very gullible. We are. And we have a nest egg for our retirement. And boy, the scammers are out to get every cent they can out of that. So, but we'll talk about that in a separate show. What are our problems in general? Inflation. We have a limited income. Inflation's killing us. Do they care? Hell no. A lot of it is skimming too. They are skimming. You can't tell me that all of like the oil companies and all, that they aren't making boodles. They are. The corporations are making it hand over fist. And they cry about it. Oh, we can't do anything about this inflation. Bull. That's total bull. What else? Look at your interest savings rate. If you have a savings account, you can't even get 1% interest. Yet those same banks that are giving you a pittance of interest on that money, they're now charging 4 to 5% if you want to get a home loan or you want to get a loan. Well, why not pass a little bit on to the people who have their savings in it, the money that they're using? Oh, I'll tell you, that's all part of it. And more recently, we're going to see an increase again in the federal debt. Now, federal debt doesn't bother you that much, and it should. It's certainly going to bother your grandchildren. It certainly is. How many trillion debt should we have? Certainly not what we have at the present time. Old benevolent Joe is giving money away to everything, and I don't like it. Even the reverse mortgages. They put an actor on, well, it's a nice thing for some people. Yeah, but you're still paying your taxes. You're still paying those property taxes. You're still paying the homeowner's insurance. You're still paying on the house while you're in it. Sure, once you pass away, it goes to the bank. Wonderful. Be very wary of a reverse mortgage. Remember also that even with your health insurance plans, and boy, oh boy, those health insurance plans are the ones that really get you. They get you when you're sick. Now, how does that affect our health insurance? Well, let me tell you. Back in 1966, when Medicare and Medicaid came in, I said back then, that was back in 66, that's going to change the whole face of medicine. Well, now, the next thing that's changing the face of medicine are these equity programs. The private equity firms, they're buying up hospitals. They're buying up the nursing homes. They're buying up the assisted living communities. They're buying up hospices. Now, that's one question you need to ask. If you ever get to that stage where you need hospice, is the hospice that you're representing, is this being financed by a private equity firm, or is this a not-for-profit? What's wrong with asking that question? Because the private equity firms, these are firms now that generate income, and they pay the people who are stockholders in that firm, they pay the stockholders a certain dividend every quarter. And if they're not paying that dividend, most likely the people will go somewhere else to get the dividend. So they're paying the money out. How are they making the money? They're making the money off the hospitals, the nursing homes, all of these things, hospice, they're making the money off of that. Who's paying them? Medicare. Medicare will pay for them. Let me tell you about one of the latest scams that's out there. I'll tell you one, because even I fell for this one. You know that you can buy these antigen tests for COVID. Well, all of a sudden the government said that, we no longer will be giving them away, but you can get them free, 4 per month, by going to your local pharmacy, whatever. Okay? And if you want to buy them, you should be reimbursed by your insurance. Well, when that first came out, there were some intelligent scammers put it on the web that they would send you 4 tests a month, and you don't have to pay for them. They'll collect from Medicare. Wonderful. Well, I signed up. And what happened? I looked at, those bills you get every month. You don't have to pay anything. They're not really bills. They're just telling you what Medicare is paying for you. Well, I looked at it, and there it was, from this Wellington group, which is the one I signed up with, and 20 different tests that they supposedly sent me that I never got. Never got a cent. Never got a test from them. And you know how much Medicare paid? They paid $94 per test. Multiply 94 times 20. That's how much they paid. I didn't have to pay anything. But if I had to have a legitimate prescription, they used up most of the money that I'm allotted through that program. That's just one scam that's out there. Don't ever sign up for free tests from anyone who offers it on the internet. Period. No questions asked. So, that's it for now. We will have an entire program on fraud, and I think that you would be very interested in hearing about some of the interesting ways that people are out there to screw you. Dr. C, have a good day.